The paddock sold the Quartararo signing as a rescue. What the announcement never mentions is that Honda did not want Fabio Quartararo first, and did not want him second either. A world champion, 2 seasons, a factory seat waiting for him when the 850cc era begins, and underneath all of it, a shopping list where his name sits third. Paddock reporting has Honda chasing 2 other riders before him. One of them turned down enough money to run a small team for a decade. So what does it actually mean when a world champion is a factory's third answer? And why does Honda need you to stop counting at 1? This is not really a story about where Quartararo rides next year. That part is settled and signed. This is about price. Every rider on this grid carries a number in the paddock's head, and that number is not what a team pays him. It is who a team calls before him. Quartararo's number just moved in public, in front of every manager he will be negotiating against for the next 2 years. And it moved at the worst possible moment for Honda too, because the 850cc reset is the one chance a broken factory gets to start level with Ducati. You do not spend that chance on your third option unless the first 2 said no. Both of them did. Plan A was Marc Marquez. Not a fantasy version of it, an actual approach, with a room and a date attached. The meeting happened on the Friday of last year's Valencia weekend, inside Honda's own hospitality, while Marquez was sidelined by injury. Reporting later put a Honda package for 2027 and 2028 at north of €20 million, though no figure was discussed in that room. This is the same rider who left Honda broken, who spent 4 seasons dragging a bike that had stopped working, and who now wins on a Ducati. Think about what that request costs a Japanese factory internally. Marquez's exit was the most public failure in Honda's modern history, and going back to him is an admission, with money attached, that everything since was a mistake. Honda made that admission privately and got nothing back for it. Reporting calls it a last-ditch move, and that is the right phrase. Factories that believe in their own project do not make last-ditch moves for the rider they already let walk out. Marquez confirmed the contact himself, and the way he framed it is the tell. There was an informal conversation, but I knew for sure that I wanted to hear from Ducati first, he said. Informal. That is a rider describing the factory that built his entire career as a courtesy call he took, while waiting for the one that mattered. He was blunter later. Sometimes you have to make decisions with your head rather than your heart, just as I did when I decided to leave Honda, Marquez said. Honda was the heart option. The heart option is the one you turn down. Honda was working Plan B in parallel, and Plan B is where the desperation gets a price tag. The target was Pedro Acosta, still under contract at KTM, and the reported approach was worth around €30 million across 3 years, $10 million a season, for a rider who has never won a MotoGP title. Set that beside the $18 million a year Marquez was reported to earn at the peak of his Honda dominance, and the shape of it is obvious. Honda was not paying for a proven champion. Honda was paying for the possibility of one. And, oh yeah, there is one more part of this. Acosta said no, not to some reduced version of the offer, to that one. He looked at €30 million and at Honda's project, and decided the money was not the deciding factor, and the reported reason should frighten Honda more than the refusal did. Acosta wanted whichever bike Marc Marquez was on, so he could measure himself against him on identical machinery. Not a bigger check, a fair fight. Marquez stayed at Ducati, so Acosta followed. And understand who Honda failed to sign there. Acosta was not a settled rider being tempted out of a happy home. He had already tried to buy his own way out of KTM once, an offer KTM refused flat, and he has since explained in public why he went looking for that exit at all. So this was a young rider who wanted a door. Honda arrived holding €30 million, and the door still did not open toward Honda. No press release survives that detail. A factory needs a story, a talent wants to join, and the most restless talent in the paddock heard Honda's version and chose to stay where he was. Meanwhile, the season kept confirming why. Luca Marini has been the steady one, an 8th place at the Sachsenring treated inside that garage like a night worth celebrating. Joan Mir, a world champion in his own right, had collected his 7th retirement of the year by the same weekend. Marquez and Acosta had both signed with Ducati weeks earlier, but that was the shop window Honda showed them. Now put Alberto Puig's public comments back in that order, because they change completely. In February, with the rumours already running, Honda's team manager was asked directly about Quartararo. Of course, Fabio is a fantastic rider, like many others, and at some point, Honda will have to see what is best for their own team, Puig said, like many others. That is not how a factory talks about the rider it has targeted. That is how a factory talks about a name in a pile it is still working through. At the time, it sounded like standard paddock deflection. It was not deflection. It was accurate. Quartararo's own words from that same week have aged into something sadder. The only thing that I can confirm today is that we are talking to teams, and Honda is one of them. But I have nothing signed yet, he said. One of them. Both men were telling the truth, and both were describing the same thing. A conversation neither side had committed to, running quietly behind two bigger ones Quartararo could not see. Here is the flip. People heard this as Honda finally landing a saviour after the post-Marquez collapse. It is the exact opposite. This is a factory that asked the biggest name in the sport and got refused, bid €30 million at the biggest young talent in the sport and got refused again, and then signed the one champion still available to it. Quartararo was not chosen. Quartararo was reached. So let's be honest about what this signing really proves. Honda is not the buyer in this story. Honda is the seller. A factory with serious money, serious infrastructure, and no leverage whatsoever, trying to convince riders to spend 2 years of their prime on a reset that might not work. The 850cc rules, the aero cut, the switch to Pirelli, all of it was supposed to be Honda's opening, the moment the whole field comes back to it. 2 riders studied that opening and picked Ducati anyway, one re-signing, one moving there. That is the verdict on the project, delivered by the only people qualified to judge it. But I don't think this is only damage for Quartararo, and this is where it can still invert. Being third choice costs him nothing on track. If he drags that Honda back toward the front, nobody in this paddock will remember the order of the phone calls. They will remember that Marquez would not go, Acosta would not go, and the man who did went and fixed it. Plan C would stop being Honda's rescue story. It would become Quartararo's. Third choice is only an insult until the third choice wins. Which is it? Honda buying its way out of the hole, or a factory nobody wanted handing Quartararo the best redemption arc in MotoGP? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.